Well, the founder of the People Against Race Classification NGO, Glen Snyman, joins us now virtually. Mr. Snyman, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us and a warm welcome to the late edition.
Good evening, Simpiwe, and good evening to your viewers as well.
Now, Mr. Snyman, the jury is still out at this particular point in time on whether such a classification is unprecedented or not. So tell us more about your visit to the Western Cape Blood Services offices. Who did you engage with and how were your demands received?
Well, on the 6th of September 2023 was the first day when I wrote to them and inquired about the indication of the race criteria on their forms. So for a year and a half, we didn't have any response. Then I wrote to them again on the 19th of February 2025, and I only got an information that they noted our response. And eventually, me and my team, we took the liberty to physically go to their offices, to visit them, to show them we are serious about this matter, we want the answer, and we demand the answer. And at their head office in Cape Town, the CEO wasn't available at the time yet, and we just told him we actually just want an answer on why the race blocks are on these forms.
Now, could you take us through what really happens when someone from your organization donates blood and encounters the race classification question? How does it make them feel?
Me, myself, have been a blood donor for the last 20 years, and some of my team members are also blood donators. And PARC has been fighting the race criteria on all types of forms for the last 15 years in this country. Now, many people are only worried about the race blocks on the government's job application forms as Z83. But what about the race blocks on the, like in this case, blood donation form? How does the race blocks on the blood donation form address past inequalities? What does race and blood have to do with each other? The same with other similar forms when you enter a kid into school, and well, there's a list of forms. So we feel offended because we are already offended of the word colored, because we don't want to be referred to as such, but rather to our ethnic identities, like in the Khoisan communities especially. So yes, we feel offended when we must fill in odious race blocking forms, because in the back of our minds, it's somehow that you feel, are my blood not good enough to save the life of somebody else?
In fact, I'm sure you've seen the clip that we've played prior to this interview of the Western Cape Blood Services, who are essentially arguing that race data assists with finding rare blood types in certain communities. So what's your response to this justification?
Well, at this stage, it would be easy for them to say, Mr. Snyman, Union Group, you're not doctors, you're not scientists. You can't have a valid scientific opinion. Fair enough. But when a professor, Yusuf, like you saw it earlier, when he confirms that what we are saying are true, then you start raising questions. Which of these scientists now actually needs to be believed? So on the 2nd of June, the blood service wrote back to us, and they said that they're going to amend their form. They're going to fill in the other and the prefer not to say option.
Okay.
So I wrote back to them and I asked them, listen, but hypothetically speaking, what if all the blood donors now suddenly decide that they are not going to fill in their race, they're all going to fill in other or prefer not to say? Then the blood service won't have race data. That means they can then do without the race data, without comparative race data. Then they wrote back to me and they gave all this medical and scientific reasons. Fair enough, fair and well. They even gave me a brochure of the World Health Organization to study. They say, here's a brochure, you study for yourself.
Okay.
And in this brochure, I pick up at several points that the World Health Organization is referring to the blood donation service must collect blood only from voluntary non-remunerated blood donors from low-risk populations. So my question is, who are being regarded as a low-risk population? Who?
But then have you engaged medical professionals or the hematologist, as it were, to assess whether there is indeed no medical benefit to race classification in blood donation?
Well, we only recently received all of this medical explanations, so we continuously doing research and see who has a different point of view regarding this. But to continue my matter, the 4 race blocks is limited. Now, like the other doctor also said in the interview, collecting blood from different ancestral groups. Now, I also gave them a report of my ancestral DNA, which I recently had tested. And it shows 11 different race or population groups over the world. So my question is, a guy like me, where do I fit in into those 4 race blocks? I can take white, I can take black,
Okay.
I can take mixed race, I can take Indian. And then there needs to be added more groups if we now want to go scientifically regarding the makeup of one single human being.
Right.
And I believe if we test all of these people, there's medical study, medical proofs that I can present whereby people have been tested and all of their DNA shows more than the traditional 4 race groups. Take for instance the Asian group. They mix Indians and Chinese, referring to our Asians, into one group. Now the Indians and the Chinese stay in different continents with different cultures.
All right.
So there's a mix-up in these 4 groups.
We're out of time, unfortunately, Mr. Snyman, but just a quick question. Do you think scraping race classification in such settings could sort of pave the way for eliminating it in other areas of public life? I know that in job application forms, we do ask our race, classification, whether black and white, colored or Indian. And the argument is that, I mean, what does that have to do with my skill set? What does that have to do with the skin color?
That is what we are also asking. So, because of our past, our apartheid past, we just feel the institutions should do more to get rid of institutionalized race criteria, which eventually give birth to and perpetuate race discrimination and racial attitudes. So they should do more.
Okay. Mr. Snyman, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, Glen Snyman there is the founder of the organization, the People Against Race Classification, talking to us about how the organization is seeking, the scrapping of the race classification question in the official form completed when donating blood.